You are listening to the Shopify Solutions Podcast, a podcast for Shopify store owners that brings you concrete examples on how to build and grow your e-commerce brand. Your host is Scott Austin. He owns a Shopify agency called Jade Puma. In this podcast, Scott will share his e-commerce insights and best practices with you.
Hey everyone, Scott Austin here, and for this week's episode, we're going to talk about Klaviyo. And I wanted to bring in an outside expert on Klaviyo to give you another point of view on best practices for email. And his name is Dan Nikas, and he owns Elite Brands out of Australia. Welcome, Dan.
Hey, thanks for having me on today. Great to be here.
Can you give us a little background on your Klaviyo expertise and why we should be listening to you?
Yeah, look, I'm a brand owner first, and I own a brand called Gearbunch. It's been around since 2016. I was very, very good at meta advertising, Facebook advertising as it was called back then. Over the years, we realised the importance of email marketing and how we'd sort of been leaving a lot on the table. This is going back, we just had our 8th birthday there. So made a concerted effort to educate our internal team on email marketing. Our preferred platform is Klaviyo. Obviously, that's what we're talking about. The success from that with my own brand led to other people asking, can we help them? We built our internal team out further, offer it as a service to other people now. So we've been in that ecosystem now for about the last 6 years. And absolutely love it. And it continues to evolve, continues to get better, continues to get more intuitive. It's very data driven, which suits my personality. And it's the best that we've got out there at the moment. There's other comparable ones, but Klaviyo has the most innovation, integrations, and options available to us at this time.
Yep, I agree. We put Klaviyo in all the stores that we build on our side. It's just like a no-brainer for me to make that decision. Now, for the stores that are listening that don't have email yet today, what would you say, is the importance of email for an online brand, and what's the benefit of implementing?
Yeah, good question. So if you don't have it, you're losing money. Like, it's fundamentally, that's all it comes down to. Email's been around since the beginning of the internet. It's not going anywhere. It's going to stay around. Other trends will come and go. But fundamentally, what we see with our brands that we manage and our own brand, on average, we bring in about an extra 30% attributed revenue from our email marketing efforts. So if you make $100,000 in a month, potentially, on average, we'd be adding an extra $30,000 a month to your revenue. And the reason for that is, there's a lot of reasons for that, but I think probably the biggest one is, as a society, we have a lot of distractions. So we consume a lot of information, we consume a lot of content. There's so many social media platforms out there. We can't simply remember everything. So we have to make sure that we stay front of mind to people. And if we just rely on paid media and we push something out there and someone buys or doesn't buy, and then we move on to the next prospect, we're sort of doing ourselves a bit of disservice, because we need to give people time to think about it. People are busy. The product or service that you're offering might take a little bit of consideration, and that's where email comes in. So we don't have to keep paying to go back to those same people to convince them to buy from us or to become a customer or take up our services. That's where email, we can automate it as well as campaigns, but we can automate a system that brings in consistent revenue for you on the back end without you having to go and pay for them again, because you already own that data. You're playing in your own backyard. You can message them however you like, whenever you like, and no one can dictate what you can or can't do. So and I mean can or can't do, not in a spammy context. I mean, as an example, meta advertising, I'm a huge fan of it, but we can't show before and afters. We've got a lot of health-related brands that we manage, and we can't show before and after, let's say, on a basic level for weight loss, or we can't call that personal characteristics. However, on email, we can do that. And I'm not saying being discriminatory or disrespectful. I'm just saying we can show results in that manner because it's our data, it's our backyard, instead of playing in someone else's backyard where they dictate what we can and can't show or say.
Having built many websites with supplements, I understand exactly what you're talking about there, where they have all these restrictions they have to work around in all the stuff they're doing. In all your experience, have you ever come across a brand that shouldn't do email? I don't think I have, and I'm wondering if you have.
I can't think of a use case where email wouldn't be beneficial. There are nuances to it. Like there are some brands, as an example, my own brand Gear Bunch, where we email and we've trained our audience to receive emails from us every day. It's potentially every day. It's highly segmented. So you're not receiving just spam emails to your entire list the whole time. It's very segmented and very targeted. And there are other brands that they're more of a long-term investment brand, the high-end product that they guarantee will last X amount of years. Well, we don't need to consistently email them over and over and over again about the same products. But there is a place for it in every brand, especially during and this is probably the misconception a lot of people have, is that email is, I have a list of 5,000 people, I'm going to do up a sale email, I'm going to send it out. That is like a very, very small portion of what email marketing is. The more beneficial, the more sophisticated side of it is the targeting, and it's not a cliche, but it's a very well-known marketing term, sending the right message to the right person at the right time. How that works in email marketing is, depending on what stage someone is at in that consideration or that buying journey that they're in, we can send them an email to educate them more, build more awareness, build more trust based on the actions that they've performed, either in an app or on our website. As an example, very basic example, and this is one of 7 automation flows that we build out, your typical add to cart. Someone adds to cart and they abandon the cart. That is, as most store owners would know, is a very typical email marketing automation flow. Hey, you left something in your cart, here's 10% off. Typical, it's been done to death. Every dropshipper does it every day of the week. But what if you could target the people who we'll call window shoppers, who've just been to the website and looked at a product, haven't added anything to cart, and then at the other end of the spectrum, we can set up an automation flow where we target people who are at the checkout stage. And there's a lot of steps in between, and the psychology of where that person is and in that decision-making process is very different. So the difference between someone who has just come and viewed a product compared to someone who's got to the checkout, entered all their details in, and has not actually pulled the trigger and actually become a customer, that is very different. We need to talk to them very differently because they're at a different stage of that process. So the emails the person gets for being a window shopper compared to the person at the checkout, for whatever reason, they might have got distracted, the kids needed them, they couldn't find their credit card at the time, the boss came around the corner in their office when they were trying to do some online shopping in their work time, whatever the reason might be, they're in a different state of mind. So that's sort of about that right message at the right time.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Now, in Klaviyo, for the audience listening that hasn't used Klaviyo before, they have 2 big buckets that emails fall in. One is flows, which are based on a trigger like the abandoned cart you just mentioned, and the other would be campaigns where they're doing something like a Valentine's Day campaign. And you mentioned, the 30% number. I always say 25 to 33% of your revenue, if you're doing it right, should be coming from email. So we're in the same ballpark there. What do you see as the mix of revenue from campaigns versus flows? Just so people understand the importance of prioritization or how balanced those efforts should be.
In a perfect world, it'd be 50-50. It's never, the world's not perfect though. So again, the answer is it differs it differs between brands. When we look at brands that have a longer consideration time, so we've got one brand that sells machinery that we work with. Their consideration time is quite large because the products retail anywhere from about $4,000 to $8,000. Now, that person, more than likely, if we send them a campaign and go, hey, we've got this, they're not going to turn around and make an impulse buy for $8,000 tomorrow. There is a consideration time. They're going to compare competitors' products. They're going to look at the warranty. They're going to see what other people have said. They're going to look at possibly where it's made, possibly a how-to video on how it's used. We find those products that have the longer consideration time, the flows do bring in a lot more of the attributed revenue. Campaigns, not so much. Campaigns we use for those companies are more to educate as opposed to try and get a transaction, because there is a lot of education that needs to go into a higher cost transaction. For other brands that we run, campaigns blow the flows out of the water in terms of the balance. And that's because a lot of them, Klaviyo works on the last click attribution model. So it's whichever email you last had a touch point with is going to be attributed with that sale. And sometimes all it takes with some brands that have a little bit more of those discretionary products or more of an impulse buy, they're a lower price point, you don't have to think about it as much. A campaign might be all it takes to get you across the line. It might not need a 7 email deep automated flow to get you to convince you to buy it. So the flows still have their place and they still do mop up the people that are indecisive, but we do get a lot of conversions coming through on the campaigns, especially when you, like you said, you run something out for an offer or a sale around an event like Valentine's Day, and it's already pretty much nearly an impulse buy, and then all of a sudden there's a great deal, you buy one get one free, or buy one get one half price, a specific discount off, or free shipping, whatever it might be for that brand. That's enough to convert someone straight away. So does that make sense in terms of the consideration time will dictate, where in those flows or campaigns we'll tend to see the conversions?
Oh, it totally does. One is, the longer consideration set, you have to educate them. And the other is, well, there's, people are already warmed up, let's say, and we're just going to push them over the edge with a special offer. And for me, what's really important in that is for store owners to understand that, flows, most people think of as like free emails, right? They set it up once and they should always improve upon them and iterate on them, but they set it up and it runs for the next few years and just makes you money, which is awesome. But half of your money is coming from campaigns, which is effort you have to apply on a regular basis to your email setup to get them running properly. And you're going to see the benefit if you put that effort in.
You're definitely going to see the benefit. And it's more than just the actual content of the email as well. Like, you need to be, and this is why we use Klaviyo as opposed to a lot of other service providers, is how granular we can get with the segmentation in there. So, we don't need to, very simply, we don't need to send an email to our entire list to say, hey, buy this product, if we know that person bought that product in the last week. Like, there's nothing more annoying. Hey, look what we've got. Yeah, I know, I bought it off you last week. Why are you sending me this email? That's on a very basic level, but we can look at isolating people out through geographical locations, how engaged they are with our system, when was the last time they purchased, do they have a birthday coming up, have they bought a product X and product Y complements it really well. There is, I wouldn't say it's an endless amount of options, but it is really, and it sometimes surprises us with some of our clients. They'll come to us with an idea that we hadn't thought of before about a potential segmentation or a strategy. And they're like, we're just wondering, is it possible that we could do this? And we're like, oh, we don't know, actually. Let's dive in and we'll get our team together and we'll get around and we'll figure out a way to do it. And it's good fun, because then we go, well, that works. Let's go test it on my brand, which is Gear Bunch. And then if we see it works again, then we go out to all our other brands and we go, hey, we've got something really interesting that's working at the moment. So we'll roll that out.
So, and what I love in Klaviyo, being an agency that has access to all my clients' implementations, I can take a flow from one store and with a click of a button, apply it to another store, and then just update the branding and really easily share those best practices across my clients, which is, thank you, Klaviyo, for those tools.
It's a huge time saver, and it's a bit of a game changer as well. And look, I don't always like them, but they do have a really detailed library of flows in there as well. Now, I wouldn't go in there and just go and plug and play with one of them, but it is some good inspo for you in there as well. Like, it's something that you might not have thought of, something you thought of or ran a year earlier, and then you go in there and you're like, oh, hang on, we could probably test this for this brand. It didn't work for that one, but let's try it on this one and see if we can get some cut through there.
Yeah. And let's talk about flows for a little bit. For a store that's got Klaviyo, they've got a couple flows in place. What do you think are a set of the must-haves that every brand does? The common flows, you already mentioned abandoned cart, and then what are the, let's call them fancy flows, or the more intricate flows that they maybe aren't thinking about that they should be?
Well, what we've got is we've got a core 7 that we set up to start with, and this is like our straight out the gate. We're going to do a build out for a brand. If they don't have this, we need to implement this, and this is our jump off point. And very rarely do we come across a brand who has these already built out. And we just sort of follow the flow of a customer through that journey. So we start off with what we call our welcome series. So if someone comes to the website, enters their details into a pop-up or a sign-up form or a giveaway, whatever it is that we're running as our lead generation strategy. So we've got a welcome series. We've then got one that we call our abandoned browse. So that is our window shoppers, people who've only viewed products. Then we go on to abandoned cart, which is, as it says, it's the cart. This isn't the checkout stage. This is a little bit of extra code snippet that has to be put into Shopify, although they are changing that a little bit now, so it becomes more standard without having to put the extra code in. But that's your abandoned cart. Then we've got your abandoned checkout. That's the one where people type all their information in there. We then have our welcome new and welcome returning customers. So that's, we say, when someone becomes a customer for the first time, we have a series of emails that go out to them. If they're a returning customer, we talk to them a little bit differently. And then we have what we call our win-back flow. Some people call it sunset flow. Some people call it a re-engagement flow. So this is for people who have in the past been engaged or with us or been a customer. They've been disengaged for a little while. We're trying to get them back in, get them re-engaged because we've already paid for their lead. We've already had them. We've already built that trust with them. Let's try and get them back into our system. So that's our core 7 or our foundational 7 that we start with. And within that, there's a lot of intricacies. So, once we build those out, we then like to go into more detail within them. We like to split up different collections, different products, different services within each of them, so that we can talk to that person in the right way at the right time. Really simple example: we run the email marketing for a really big furniture brand in the States. They sell everything from sofas to beds. We don't need a series of emails going to someone who is interested in buying a sofa that educates them about our beds. So on a very simple level, within all those flows, based on their behavior, what they were looking at on the website, did they look at a bed or did they look at a sofa? If they looked at a bed, we're going to talk to them about beds. If they looked at a sofa, we're going to educate them about our sofas. So that's, there's a lot of intricacies in there, but those 7 flows initially is where we need to start.
Yeah, I love that in having that core set. Now, on the welcome series, do you have any philosophies about welcome series? For example, I think you should have lots of emails in your welcome series if you have lots of content and build that brand over time. What sort of best practices do you have for the welcome?
Probably our biggest point of difference that we have compared to a lot of other people that manage email marketing is we like to find out off the potential customer or prospect what it is they're interested in on our sign up or pop-up form. So as an example, we run email marketing for a pet brand. Now, very simplistically, they have products for dogs, cats, and dogs and cats. So on the sign up form, we run, are you interested in products for dogs, cats, or both? That then dictates what channel they go down in the welcome series flow. We make it really deep, but it's very specific because dog people don't always like cats. Cat people don't always like dogs. Some like both. So they will either go, if they click on, I'm interested in dogs or I love dogs, they click on it. We then put a custom parameter on that profile so that in that flow, they're always going to be going down the channel that talks about dog products and dog health and keeping your dog cool in summer and keeping his teeth clean and how to, groom your dog, things along those lines. Whereas the cat one is very, very different. Again, the beauty of that is that it's not this once only hit where we get, all right, well, in the welcome series, we know they like dogs, cats, or both. Guess where else we use it? Comes time for campaigns, a dog person is not going to be interested in a discount on a cat brush. But if you're a dog person and we've got some new whiz bang cooling mat for your dog to lay on during those hot summer times, we send it to the people that we know have been tagged by us as saying they're interested in dog products.
Yeah, that's really good sophistication for a brand to be thinking about. And that data enrichment of your, of your customers' data. You just mentioned the example of you're doing that at a sign up form. My first question is going to be, what percentage of people actually give you that information? And then the second question is, what other ways do you collect that information about the customer?
Yeah, so we make it so that it's gated for you to be able to, with those radio buttons. We make it that you have to select one, and it's not giving us any more personal information. It's, are you interested in dog, cats, or both? It's very simple. We do it with a pain relief company that we have as well. Are you suffering from pain in your neck, back, arms, knees? We know what they're looking for then. It just gives us a little bit more detail there. The other place that we do it is we run quizzes on the websites. And you can see this if you go to My Brands, is where we tested this strategy initially. That's gearbunch.com. Because we've got a wide variety of products in there, we've got leggings like full length, we've got capri length leggings, which are a bit shorter, we've got bike shorts, yoga pants, sports bras. And then within each of those categories, we've got so many different designs. Some are really bright, some are very specific themed around, I don't know, let's say Halloween or Valentine's Day or Christmas. So what we do is we run a quiz on there, and when we run them through the quiz, we're directing them to the collection that we think they'd be most interested in. But for them to be able to see what their results are, they enter their email all the time during the quiz. They're getting custom parameters attached to them. That's then connected back in via an integration into Klaviyo. We know what products they're interested in. We've got tags on them. So that then makes our job easier when we're putting them into flows. It also makes our job easier when we're deciding to send emails out. If this person is interested in men's leggings, which we do carry, I'm not going to send them a email about a discount on sports bras. It's just, there's not a congruency there. They've already told me what they're interested in. Well, why don't I just communicate with them about what they're interested in? The other great part about Klaviyo is all of these segmentations that we're creating with all these custom parameters. We can connect it back up to Meta as a custom audience. So let's go back to the pet example. If I know someone's interested in dog products, or if I know someone's interested in cat products, I've got two different segments. I then create a custom audience on the back end of Meta, which we're able to do within their terms of service because we own that data. People have given us consent to use that in email. We'll create a custom audience of people who are interested in dog products. Guess what ads we show them? Products for their dogs. Guess what ads we don't show them? Cat products. So it extends beyond what we can do with it within that system. We can actually connect it up to other paid media platforms and be more targeted there.
Want to build a loyal community around your brand? Events and classes are the perfect way to connect with your customers, but only if your calendar looks as professional as your store. But embedding a Google Calendar just won't cut it, as the calendar looks clunky and doesn't reflect your brand. That's why we created Branded Calendar, the Shopify app that lets you embed Google, Outlook, or Apple calendars in your store while seamlessly matching your store's branding. Originally crafted for our private clients, Branded Calendar was so successful, we turned it into an app for every Shopify store. With Branded Calendar, you're in control of how your calendar looks and where it appears, on product pages, contact pages, blog articles, or even your homepage. Keep your customers informed with schedules for retail hours, classes, or events. You can even share multiple calendars to meet different needs. And the best part? Branded Calendar includes a robust, always free plan, so you can start building community risk-free. Engage your community and stay on brand with Branded Calendar. Yeah, and just to get, once again, the audience thinking about this, Klaviyo is more than an email tool. It's your customer database, right? Some people call it a CRM. I wouldn't go that far. But Klaviyo knows more about your customers than any other platform that you're dealing with, especially way more than Shopify. Because as you mentioned, the quiz app connects to Klaviyo and feeds that information in. The same thing with the review app, it connects to Klaviyo. So Klaviyo is going to know everything about your customer through all your touch points, and you can use that information to deliver better messaging more appropriate to their needs at the right time, like you're saying.
You become a welcome addition to their inbox, as opposed to, well, it's every third email that I get from them that I'm actually interested in. And that's the difference between, I think, if we wound the clock back 10 years, what email marketing was, it was you just send an email out to everyone and let them know what's going on. And you did get cut through there because there wasn't this glut of e-commerce stores who were email marketing. I mean, you see Black Friday now, like it is just brace yourself for all the emails that are coming because everyone knows how to do it now. The smart companies, though, are doing it all year and they're doing it really segmented and they're really relevant to people. So by the time Black Friday comes, they know that, well, if I get an email from this brand, it's something I'm going to be interested in. I'm going to keep an eye out for it because every time I get an email from them, it's something that interests me. And I know at Black Friday it's going to interest me and there might be an offer attached to it as well.
Now, we talked about your core 7 flows. We talked a little bit about additional flows. Are there any, do you want to give a couple of examples of, let's just call them sexy flows, or, something unique to a brand so people can get their mind thinking about what they can do with flow automation in Klaviyo for their brand?
Probably the biggest one that has the most cut through still is incorporating, whether you do it separately or whether you incorporate into your existing flows, get some SMS in there as well. People tend to sit down once or twice a day and check their email. There's not too many people that feel a buzz in their pocket or, something pings through on their phone, or for me, it comes through on my watch as well. I don't ignore those. If it pops through, I tend to look at it if I know it's an SMS because it's much more personalized. So I would encourage you to include that in it. Whilst that's not some, fancy, sophisticated flow, it's just another medium that you can use within Klaviyo that is very, very, very effective because it gets good cut through and good click rates. Simplistically, or not simplistically, if we're looking at other flows that we can add in there, birthday flows work great. Anniversary flows also work great. So, an anniversary of when they made their first purchase, birthday flows could be offering them a particular gift, offer, incentive to celebrate their birthday. One of the biggest game changers that we had when we're looking at, what moves the needle with email is that we've incorporated giveaways into our strategy as a lead generation strategy. And I'm not talking about giveaways where it's like your old school social media ones where it's like this post and share it with your friends and you'll get this. We actually use an app called Gleam, which plugs in nicely to Shopify. There's a few that do it. Gleam works really well. It gets people through on a giveaway page. On that page, we can ask them on a very step one process, their email, their name to get entry into it. We then redirect them to another page where they can get bonus entries by answering other questions or taking other actions. What that does then is we know more about them. It tags custom parameters to them. They might get to the website, look around, do those sorts of things. What we have on the back end of that is a giveaway flow. So that giveaway flow runs for the time that the giveaway is live. And it constantly encourages them to go back and to get more entries, because what we're doing is to get those bonus entries, they have to do things like visit our socials, visit our website, share it with a friend, give us your SMS or your cell phone number. All of these actions fire off other pixels and scripts everywhere else, all the while we're moving them through this flow about the giveaway, about what they could potentially win, and do you need more entries? Eventually we get to a point where we've got a winner. Genuinely have to give away a prize. There's a lot of dodgy companies that don't do that. We make sure that all our brands do have a really good prize. It's a really good offer. We push that out. And what we do is we offer a runners-up prize to all of the people that entered that didn't win. The runners-up prize is usually an offer or a discount that's exclusive to people that entered that competition. And that works exceptionally well for us because I think the psychology is a lot of people have already got it in their head what they're going to do with that product or service if they do win it. So when they don't win it, there's that disappointment, but there's also that potential to still get it with the offer or discount that we've got. And people tend to eat it up, and it performs exceptionally well for us.
Yeah, you're answering the questions that I had, right? So you mentioned SMS, and my next question was going to be, well, how do you collect SMS numbers? Because they have to opt in specifically to that. So then you just explain what we do, these raffles kind of thing. And I've actually seen research in the past that shows, the conversion rate of people signing up for like a 10% coupon versus the conversion rate of people signing up for the 1 in a million chance to win $1,000, right? And the 1 in a million chance to win $1,000 is like 5x the conversion rate than a guaranteed 10% off right now kind of thing. That raffles are a huge driver of customer behavior, and that's what you're using as the carrot to get that data that you want to have that enriched profile of your customers to do all the segmentation that you're doing so well.
Yeah, and it's not just a case of an autofill in your details and you're entered in the competition. We gamify it with the bonus entries, and those bonus entries enrich our data, but also get people to take actions that we want. Go to the website, visit this collection, visit that collection, and what we're doing is we're getting someone to do something that we want them to do, but we make it think it's their idea, which is, I think, the key sometimes to marketing is that we don't want to, people don't like being told what to do. But if we say, have you thought about doing this? Because if you do this, there's this bonus, and the decision is theirs then. So we can say, do you want an extra 5 bonus? We can give you an extra 5 bonus points if you visit this collection page where we show all of our Christmas themed leggings as an example. And then like, you know what, I'm going to go and visit that collection page because I want the bonus points and I'm making the decision to do it. So away they go. It's enriching our data, not just for email then, it's enriching our data for every other pixel and script that's firing on the back end. It does enrich the data on email, which is great, custom audiences, segmenting them out. It's this full ecosystem, this omni-channel presence that we have, that it's not emails, let's collect emails for email and let's run meta ads for meta, and they've all got to work together. And incentivizing people to take certain actions and have them think that it's their decision to make whilst they're doing what we're asking them to do, that is the perfect win for everyone. And that then also gets rid of a lot of the, freebie seekers as well, because it's not just a matter of doing an automated fill in your details and wait to see if you get an email at the back end. We encourage you to become part of the brand. During that flow, we educate you about the brand. If you're not interested in the brand, you're not going to take all these extra actions more than likely. It's not to say there aren't freebie seekers that still come into the systems, but eventually they will self-filter themselves out of those systems as well by either unsubscribing or becoming disengaged, and we just don't send them anything anymore.
Yeah, and just say what you just said in a different way, because I really want the audience to think about what I'm taking away from you, right? Which is, what always impresses me about sophisticated brands is how well they know their customers, right? And they do that in a whole bunch of different ways. And what you're doing is not just sending emails. You're building the knowledge base of the audience through a whole bunch of different methods, and then using that to send email and other marketing efforts that you're doing. But it's really the customer knowledge that you're gaining that makes it a more powerful process.
And look, it's beneficial to us as well, in terms of it's extremely beneficial to the brand, because the brand owns that data. Whether we're working with them or not, the brand owns that data. But as someone who's engaged to do our very best for a brand and to get them the best results we can, knowing more and more and more about these prospects or leads, it makes our job a lot easier. We're not guessing. We're not saying, well, this should work. We're saying, well, this person is interested in this. This is the action they've taken. Let's send them an email about that, because we know exactly what they're interested in and what stage of this maybe consideration journey they're at. And that's so much more specific, and it's so much more valuable to a brand to be able to communicate in that way than it is just sending out 100,000 emails to everyone.
Yep. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And it just reinforces what you're talking about. This whole really knowing the customer, getting them the right time, the right place, the right message. It seems like you're consistently doing that, which is awesome. So let's get off of flows and let's move on to campaigns. And let's pull up Valentine's, the next holiday, as we're recording this in January. How would you work with a client to structure a Valentine's campaign?
Ultimately, we want the campaign to last more than a day. So there's two things to consider. Does the brand offer a product or service that would be a good gift for Valentine's Day? The second is, are we just going to use the event of Valentine's Day as a reason to brand email creative and make an offer? So they're the 2 points of difference. If it needs to be gifted, well, then we need to sit down and have a chat with the brand owner and say, well, how long, what's the cutoff for this? How long do we have to promote this until we have to stop because we can't guarantee delivery in time as a gift for Valentine's Day? From there, we're like, okay, so what gifts do we have? What's our target audience? If this particular product, what's the target audience for that? And we can go through and look at the data and we can come up with a schedule. Let's say you've got 10 days prior to Valentine's Day. That allows plenty of time for the product to get delivered. We can even segment out by areas. They might, as an example, with Gearbunch, we produce, manufacture, and ship from the US. We can get a product to someone in the US within 5 working days. To Europe takes us a little bit longer. To Australia takes us about 2 weeks. So we can segment those different people out based on where they're located, about when we can send these emails out to them, and we can stagger that based on those geolocations. But fundamentally, we'll come up with a plan and we'll say, rightio, these are the products that we're going to promote. Is there an offer in there? Yes, no. And we will work out how many email campaigns we're going to send and who we're going to send it to. So there's no one hard and fast rule. We've got to consider things like how large is this list? How segmented is this? How much data we have on these profiles within this list? We then have to also consider things along the lines of, well, how many emails is this list used to getting? Because we don't want to go from being a brand that is sending one campaign a week, as we do with some of our brands, with a lot of automated flows in the back end, to all of a sudden we're sending 2 emails a day, 7 days a week. We're going to get a lot of negative metrics there. We're going to get a lot of unsubscribes. We're going to get a lot marked as spam, which is really detrimental to the brand. So if the people haven't been trained to receive consistent emails from you, we're going to increase the volume because we've got something cool to tell you about, but it's going to differ from brand to brand. If we then look at the alternative where we're looking at a promo running up until and including Valentine's Day, I like to build up that we've got something coming. Check your email on this day. We've got a special Valentine's Day offer for you, and we'll theme everything around that Valentine's Day. I like to run countdown timers for when there's cutoffs. That can be both for shipping and for the offer expiring to create a bit of urgency in there. Or if we only have a certain amount of products, we can actually say how many of those are left, create some scarcity. I don't like to extend offers beyond where we're saying. I don't know if it's an ethical thing, but it's something that I think if we're going to create a long-term relationship with these potential customers or leads or existing customers, we need to be true to our word. So if we say, hey, you can get 20% off up until midnight on, is it February 14th for Valentine's Day? I better check I've got that right. February 14th on Valentine's Day, you've got till midnight. Well, you need to make sure that that offer turns off then, because all you're doing is trying to create false urgency or false scarcity that the offer, when if they log in on the 15th or 16th and that offer's still valid and active, well, the next time you come to them and say, with the countdown time's ticking, you've only got 3 hours left, they're going to go, it doesn't matter. In the next 2 days, they'll still have it on anyhow. So you're planting the seed for future campaigns as well.
If you would, can you give me a couple best practices for offers, right? Because there's 1,000 different options brands can do. You've probably got some best practices that you prefer. Give some store owners some guidance on how they should be thinking about offers.
Okay, it depends on margins with the brand. It depends on what they've offered previously. We don't want to have an underwhelming offer if for Christmas they had, let's say, 50% off, and you come in at Valentine's Day with 5% off. There's too big a gap there. So we need to look at historically what's worked for them. We do like to reframe what will effectively be the same offer and split test to see which works. So as an example, let's say we want to offer for my brand 25% off all orders. Great. Let's put 25% up. But what we're also going to do is we're going to run a split test, and we're going to say, buy one, get the second item 50% off. My prices are very similar. So effectively, you're going to get the 25% off. And it's interesting to see the psychology of how people respond to both. Some say 25% off works better. Some say, well, I'm going to buy one and get one 25% off. I do like to have a dollar amount off at times as well, just to see how that plays out with the brands. And again, this is, there's such a wide range of offers and incentives out there that you can use. You really need to test what works well for the brand. As an example, we ran an offer where, and this is for that machinery company, and they're it's a heavy item to ship. But we offered them 10% off, and we split test that against free shipping. I thought for sure the 10% off would win. For an $8,000 product, you 10% off, you get $800 off. Shipping costs about $200. The free shipping won by a landslide. So even though we're offering more monetary value off, the psychology of, well, how much is it going to cost to ship this heavy piece of machinery? They went for the free shipping, won by a landslide. And I thought if I had to put money down on it, I would have said that the discount would have worked better. But we needed to test to see what worked.
Yeah. Well, back in 2004, I worked for MSN Shopping, and this is going to sound like no duh today, but back then this was revolutionary. And we figured out that the free shipping was so important. We added a toggle to our filters for free shipping, and we were like one of the first places in the world to do that. And because we had seen that free shipping drove so much behavior over sale prices kind of thing. And it's that psychology of human beings who are emotional creatures. They are not logical and not rational. You have to understand how to tap into those emotions and leverage those best practices.
Yeah, and I think that the fact that it's free, people go, oh, or complimentary, they're like, okay, I'll take that. And then there's probably a percentage of us that struggle with maths, and they're like, oh, I can't work that out. Like, here's 12.5% off. I don't know what that is. I'm going to take the free option.
So on the offer side of things for campaigns, because I totally agree with you, it totally depends on every single brand. I have found with my brands what's working well for us, right? For the brands, not for the customers much, but for the brands, is things like free gift with purchase, or hitting a threshold and then getting the discount kind of stuff.
Yeah, things that can increase that average order value is great. Free gift with purchase is a good one when you're stuck, especially with seasonal products. If you're stuck with a product, you've got too much stock of a product that you know is going to be going out of season, that's a good time to offer it as a free gift with purchase, because you don't just have to write it off and it's not a loss, or you have to hold on to that stock until the next time it gets cold or warm or whatever it might be, or it might be seasonally themed like Christmas or Easter or whatever it might be. But yeah, it's a good time to push those little extras. The other thing with gift with purchase is it's good with those products that have a very high perceived value, but they don't cost you much as a brand to have. So it could be a branded, let's say you're in the health space, it could be a branded protein shaker or something like that. The perceived value of that could be $20. The reality is it might only cost you $1. So that's probably a bit extreme, but you get the idea. You're giving something away for a very low price point, but the perceived value of that value for that customer is a lot higher than it actually costs you. So it works out really well, especially when you've got complementary products that you can do that with.
Yeah, we've done a lot with my brands with merch, right? Like you said, the shaker, we do t-shirts, we do custom printing of t-shirts for that event with the brand on it, because then that person becomes an evangelist for your brand and all that word of mouth kind of benefit. And people love those, right?
Exactly. They join the tribe. It's great.
Yeah. We have a lot of clients who don't sell t-shirts, but we give free t-shirts away in the campaigns that are relevant to, their ecosystem.
Perfect.
So we talked a little bit about flows. You talked a little bit about campaigns. What else are we not talking about in email that we should be covering?
Look, I think fundamentally how you're getting those leads in, and at its core level, I see it done really poorly, like by a lot of brands, where they'll just have a pop up or a sign up form that's like, "Hey, get 10% off, give us your email," and that's nice, but everyone does it, and brands tend to turn them on and leave them for 5 years, and you're like, they're wondering why they've got like a submit rate of under 1%. Ultimately, we want to be getting submit rates of around 3%, which means that 3 in every 100 people that come to the website sign up instead of 1 in every 100. And you can see how that can compound really quickly, especially as you scale your paid traffic or paid media. You can capture more leads that way. Um, I would suggest split testing a lot of things. Mystery discounts we find work really well at the moment. So you don't know what you're getting until you actually sign up. That increases the conversion rates.
Oh, I hate those when you say that. It makes me cringe. I get that it works, but from a brand standpoint, that one makes me cringe.
Yeah, but it works, and we just need to test. And another one that works really well for us is we call them binary yes or no um, sign up forms. So, um, do you want a discount today? Do you want today's discount? Do you want to receive 10% off today? Whatever it might be, I don't know. Whatever the offer is that's there, but we put a binary radio buttons on there, yes or no. And the idea is to get them to say yes, they want the discount. Then the next stage is they enter their email and then they submit it. Then we can have another step in there, which would you like a bonus discount if you provide us with your SMS? Then we say, okay, we've just sent it to you, and away they go. But we get them into that stage of saying yes to start with instead of just clicking and shutting it down. Other ways that work, other things with it is test the format that it comes out in. Is it a pop-up? Is it a full page? Is it a slide out? And also keep in mind, a desktop experience is very different to a mobile. On a mobile, what works on a desktop might be really super annoying on a mobile device. So we tend to split those out as well. So we'll have a mobile-only sign-up form, and we'll have a desktop-only sign-up form because they behave very differently. We do find the opt-in rates on mobile are a lot better than desktop just across the board, but it doesn't mean that we can't improve the way that they appear on both.
Do you ever do like a free digital gift as an incentive for signups?
Sometimes, and that's always part of our testing process. We'll have everything from, do you want to join? Do you want to join our giveaway? To a free gift, to gift with purchase, mystery discounts, standard discounts. We will test everything, and we continue to test them. That's probably the key as well. Is that it's not like for one brand one thing works and like, we'll roll it out to all the others, that'll work, and just leave it at that. Like we run every month, we'll run another test. We'll run a 30-day test, or until we've got enough statistically significant data to say, well, this one's definitely the winner. But as a rule, we set projects that every month we're going to split test something on those sign-up forms, because the more leads we can get through the traffic that they already have coming in, the better we can perform, because we've got more data, we've got more segmentation, we've got more custom audiences. We can put them into different flows because we know more about them.
If you have a good email system, right, with your flows and your campaigns, when someone comes to your site, capturing the email is so much money because you know you're going to monetize them down the road, or there's the whatever percentage of them are going to monetize. But you've got that automatic communication process set up. You just want to engage them in that all that work you've set up. You want to amortize that across more people.
Yeah, exactly. And remember what we touched on earlier as well, is that it's not just the email, it's that data is then used across all of your other networks as well. So creating lookalike audiences in Meta, creating custom audiences, pushing that audience across to your Google advertising. You can manually export them and import them into so many different paid advertising platforms to give that system a better understanding of who your customers are, what customers like different things, what customers have bought from different collections or different products, what customers have abandoned the cart, all of these different metrics that we can not just keep within the Klaviyo ecosystem, we can push them out, brand wide across all of their marketing efforts. It's so much more than just email marketing. Fundamentally, the more data we can put into the system, the better results we're going to get out for people.
That makes total sense. Now, let's talk a little bit about, a couple different sizes of brands and how much effort they should be putting in emails. Let's just say a brand that's making, $10,000 a month. How many campaigns should they be doing? What I want to lead up to is people understanding how much work it takes to do this and how they should allocate resources towards it.
Yeah. So it's a good question. And again, that's going to come down to it depends. So if you're making $10,000 a month, I would probably not look so much at the revenue, but I would look at the size of the list and how much data you have on that list. So you might be able to send out 4 emails a week, and you think, oh God, that's a lot. But the reality is they might be 4 different emails to 4 different segments of your audience that are all very specific. And you can see that effort versus reward equation very, very quickly in Klaviyo. You can see the attribution to those campaigns that you're pushing out very, very quickly. So you can see where you should be concentrating your efforts. You're not having to pay to send to those people. There is a subscription fee, obviously, with Klaviyo, but it's not every time you send an email, there is a cost associated with it. You're paying a monthly subscription fee for it. So you might as well utilize the emails that you have at your disposal, and you can start to see what works really well. All right, if I send 1 email a week to everyone, this is the result I get. What if I split that up into, let's go back to the pet scenario. Why don't I split that up into 2 emails a week, one to people that have an interest in dogs, one to people that have an interest in cats, and let's see the results so we can get back there. All right, well, the dogs one didn't do very well, but the cats one did well. So we're going to stick with 1 email with the dogs. Why don't we try 2 emails for the cat list, or the segment of people that like cats? And then you can see that evolution there of how it works. Again, not a concrete answer. As with everything online, there's no one way to do anything. Well, not that I know of anyhow.
Yeah, no, I don't expect a precise answer on any of this. I totally agree with you. It always depends, right? That's always the answer. But I like giving people a little bit of context, and you're doing that, right? What I'm wondering is, so let me take a step back, right? Your email process is fairly sophisticated, more than fairly sophisticated, right? I'm struggling to see a store doing that themselves unless they're a very large brand with a dedicated team doing that for them, and not just one individual, but like a team, right? So the way I think about it is, when a brand starts out, they're going to do their own email, most likely, like most, small brands are doing things on their own. There's going to be a point where they outsource it to get that expertise. And then there's going to be a point where they're so big, they bring that back in-house again because they're just going to take that over themselves. And I'm wondering, where do you think those thresholds are for a brand?
It needs to come down to the cost of that agency. So if you're going to pay someone to do it for you, whether it's an agency or a freelancer, you need to look at that equation of the average being about 30% of your revenue is going to be what's attributed from email marketing. Then if you look at you taking it, with knowing your numbers, take out your cost of goods. So if you're only generating $10,000 a month, we add an extra $3,000 on with email marketing, like just hypothetically, and then let's say your cost of goods are 50%. Well, email's only adding in an extra $1,500 back into your pocket. If the agency costs you $3,000 a month, well, then it's not worth it. It doesn't make fiscal sense to create an extra $1,500 in revenue after cost of goods, but it's going to cost you $3,000. It doesn't make sense. If you're looking at it and you're making $100,000 a month and it's going to add another $30,000 in revenue, which in turn is an extra $15,000 in profit a month for you, and the agency is going to cost you $3,000, that makes much more sense because a good email marketer will be able to push it even further for you and do things like we've talked about together today to enhance other media channels that you have. So it'll come down to the economics of it for you. I would, however, encourage brands to be involved in the process themselves to start with. I would say have a go. And what I mean by that is try and have a basic understanding of the system before you outsource anything. I like to have an understanding of something before I pay someone else to do it because I like to have an idea of A, how much time I'm going to be saving by bringing someone else to do it. B, how complicated the task is. So I've got realistic expectations about what they can and can't do. And C, if they're telling me something about a problem or a barrier they're facing, I need to have some understanding of the system to be able to intelligently converse with them about it. So I would suggest start yourself. There's plenty of resources out there, plenty of podcasts like this that you can listen to and you can get some ideas and concepts around. What I would suggest is doing that, starting a little bit yourself, being really involved if you do bring someone on, but making sure it makes fiscal sense to you. So if we operate on knowing your numbers, okay, we can add 30% in, we're going to lose 50% of that to cost of goods, whatever it might be. The agency or the freelancer is going to cost this much. Does that make sense? If it's anywhere not making you a profit, the answer is no. If it's break even, I would say the answer is no. You'd want it. If you're going to invest in someone else to help you with your brand, it needs to be A, to be saving you time, and B, making you more money.
More money at the profit level is what you're saying.
Correct. And if someone come to me and they're making $10,000 a month and like, we want an agency to run our email, and I had this conversation with them, I'm like, right, I think we can confidently say we'll probably get you an extra 30%. What's your cost of goods? It's half. It's not worth having an agency for yet. You're not ready. I can help you, like I can point you in the right directions for a few things, but I think it's something that you should manage yourself until such time as it's going to make sense to you and it's going to actually bring more money into you. Because at the end of the day, and you're probably much the same, like we all start out as small business owners ourselves, whether it's you're freelancing or you've got your own brand, whatever it might be. I don't want to be an agency that comes along and puts your hand out at the end of the month to take money off a small business when you know in good faith that your cost is going to outweigh their benefit that they're getting from you. So, yeah, I wouldn't sit right with me anyhow. So I would turn around and say, I think you really need to do this yourself, or get someone in-house to have a look at it, and instead just provide them with a little bit of guidance in that regard. And guess who comes back to you when they do grow and they do become successful? They come back to the honest people who gave them a bit of help without an expectation of anything in return. In fact, they actually turned away business at that time because they said, it doesn't make sense right now for you to do this. They trust you, they like you, they know you're honest. And that's something that I think across the internet, across the business world, but especially on the internet, if you can gain someone's trust through integrity and ethics, then it's a much easier proposition to do business with them. It's something you can't buy. It's something you can't fake. Once you lose it, you lost it.
I totally agree. And, I'm a one-person agency, and it's all about the relationship with, my clients kind of thing, which is a pure joy, which is why I only work with small stores, because it is more of a relationship with a human being as opposed to corporate entities and process and red tape. And it's really nice that way.
Team, and you're helping them out, and you celebrate the wins with them. And when things aren't going great, you're like, right, well, how do we fix this? This isn't a corporate entity that can just absorb losses. Like, you're invested in it. You want to make it work for them.
Yep. Now let's one more question on this, and then we'll start closing up. Let's say you're $1 million a month brand, and you're doing email marketing. Forget all the margins and stuff like that for a second. I just want people to understand how much effort this takes. Is that a full human body? Is it 3 people doing it? Like, how much human capital are you putting behind that ongoing email process for your $1 million a month brand?
Look, it's going to be a full-time role, but I wouldn't suggest that one person does all of that. We're very big on peer reviewing internally with our teams, and we're very big on getting people to do what they're good at. Some people are very good at data. Some people are very good at what we'll call the plumbing or the back-end build-outs of the email marketing system, and some people are very good at creative. Some people are very good at copy. So we like to have small teams operating within the brands, especially with the larger ones, because I know I'm not very good at creative. I'm not very good at design. So we've got a good designer. We've got someone who does copy. We always have someone peer reviewing, because if you're at that scale, or whatever scale you're at, you don't want to send out something that's got spelling mistakes, the grammar's terrible, the layout's crap. You want to make sure that what you send out is good quality. So we peer review everything internally before it goes out. So the answer is, at that scale, it would be a full-time role, but I would chunk that role up into much smaller roles. One, to leverage people's expertise and what they're passionate about, and two, to have that quality control in there as well. Because we're going client-facing, we're pushing something out that's representing the brand. We don't want errors in it.
Yeah, and just to get people thinking about it, like $1 million a month, 30% of that is from email. That's $300,000 a month. Anybody's going to put a full-time head behind $300,000 revenue stream. So the return on investment is really good. It takes a lot of human capital to make it happen, but it is positive ROI.
It is, and look, we're jumping to that extreme end of the equation there, but it's definitely where your brands can end up. And why some brands, let's circle back to the beginning of the call where you said, there's brands that don't have it, doesn't work for everyone. And in fact, I would say do not run paid traffic until you have at least your automation system built out in the back end of your email marketing platform in Klaviyo. Even if you have 0 subscribers to start with, because if you turn a tap on with paid media, it's like you're pouring water into a bucket with holes in it if you don't have a back-end system set up. Because if you have the back-end system set up, as soon as someone falls through the cracks and doesn't convert on that first or second touch point you've got on paid media, your email marketing system is going to start firing and beginning to go into action and start messaging those people. So you will start to build. You don't wait until you're spending a ridiculous amount of money to go, maybe we should try email marketing as well. I would suggest setting it up because it doesn't cost much to get it set up. It's time. The subscription plan for Klaviyo, I think, starts at like $20 a month. And if you've got 0 subscribers, have it set up and ready to go. And you upgrade your plan and you upgrade everything as you start to gain more leads.
Yep. Yeah, it's a nice... It grows with you. Your expenses grows as your revenue grows. And I call it operationalizing your business. You don't want to be investing too much money that isn't going to return yet. So if people want to outsource this to elite brands, how would they reach out and contact you guys?
Look, the best thing to do would just be go to our website, elitebrands.org. That's elitebrands.org. On there, you can see case studies that we have. You can see clients that we've worked with, and there is a contact us form there. We do offer free audits or complimentary audits for brands so that we can actually see, hey, can you actually benefit from email marketing, and is it something that you should consider working with us with? And that gives you a really good health check of your email marketing system. And I encourage people to do that. In fact, even if someone insists on working with us, which is very flattering, we will always still do the audit so that we've got a good picture of where we can help them, where we can't help them, and what direction we think we can take them in.
No, that's really nice that you offer the audit. That's awesome. And then, so thanks for your time and expertise on this today. Do you have any closing word of wisdom for store brands around email marketing?
And it goes for pretty much everything that we do online or in the real world, is that perfect is the enemy of done. So just get started. If you get started, you can continue to refine it and make it better. If you're waiting for it to be perfect, you will still be sitting here listening to this podcast in a year's time and you will not have done anything. Just get started. I'm not saying push absolute garbage out there. You know you're not going to push garbage out there. Is your system going to be perfect? No. Is it going to be better than not doing it at all? Definitely.
Sage advice. Thanks for your time today, Dan.
No worries. Much appreciated, mate.
You've been listening to the Shopify Solutions podcast with Scott Austin. This podcast is brought to you by Jade Puma, a Shopify-focused agency located in San Diego, California. If you like what you heard, please leave a review and subscribe on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. If you'd like to work with Scott on your brand, email him at scott@jadepuma.com.